Today on Locked On Rockies, continuing our State of the Position series, taking a look at the new look Rockies bullpen. Not a lot of confidence in this group, but it's hard to make that judgment when it's a completely different look than it was last year. And honestly speaking, things can't be much worse than they were last year.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 9th day of March in the year 2023. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every single day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here, is talk about the Rockies each and every single day. We've been doing this for about 3 seasons now, and we're gearing up for the 2023 season by bringing up our the state of the positions, talking about where the Rockies are at in terms of the positions on the field, kind of lumping together some of these big things. We weren't going to go individually through each outfield position and each bullpen position or pitching position other than relievers versus the starters. Today we're talking about the bullpen, the arm barn, if you are more up to that nomenclature. That's who we're discussing today on the Locked On Rockies podcast, but I want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, and you're tuning in live. If you are subscribed to Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, you know when we're going live. You can be part of the live chat, just like Lux Ace, at Rocks Hot Takes, and Eric Harper all are. Join us. Go subscribe. Be part of the show, and let's talk Rockies baseball together, and let's talk bullpen. And let's go right into the live chat, because this is what I was talking about in the opening here. Our bullpen is blowing too much games in spring training. Better not do that a lot in regular games. That's from Lux Ace. And at Rocks Hot Take says, I'm not convinced by the new and future bullpen just yet. The spring training bullpen has blown 2 leads in the 8th and 9th. Yesterday against the Angels was particularly bad. The Rockies bullpen has blown about, I think my count is up to 4 games this spring training. This bullpen is also not what you're going to see. Let's be completely, just like we were overreacting to the success of the Rockies, we also can't sit here and overreact to a lot of the pitfalls, because when you look at some of the names that the Rockies are bringing out there, these are young guys, and they are allowed to have rough spring training games. It's part of development. I'm not the blown games by the bullpen in spring training isn't as big of a deal to me, because I don't think you can sit here and look at a lot of these names and a lot of the veterans on this team and say that this bullpen's going to be as bad as last year. Folks, I'll pump the brakes there. I'm not telling you because the Rockies went out and took flyers on 3 veterans that their other teams didn't want anymore are going to revolutionize the Rockies bullpen. I just have a hard time believing that the Rockies bullpen is going to be as bad as it was last year. The Rockies bullpen last year, with no left-handed pitching and really not a lot of veterans outside of Carlos Estevez, it is a completely different look. The Rockies are going to bring out a completely new batch of bullpen arms, and the only one that's really been there before that the Rockies fans are going to recognize is Daniel Bard. There might be a couple, Jake Bird. There might be a couple of things we'll check on. Here's who Danielle Allentuck predicts here. Bard is going to close. Denilson Lamet, Brent Suter, Pierce Johnson, Brad Hand, Justin Lawrence, Logan Allen, and Nick Mears are going to make up the Rockies bullpen. The big difference right here, the Rockies are going into this season with 3 lefties. 3 left-handed arms. This is something the Rockies did not have. The Rockies literally did nothing when it came to left-handed pitching. This actually gives them some sort of a mix-up when it comes to matching up arms out of the bullpen. And Lux Ace mentions Justin Lawrence in the World Baseball Classic. Justin Lawrence actually probably the piece in the bullpen I'm most excited to watch. I've liked Lawrence since he's come up. Now, he's been far from perfect, but I love the fact that the Rockies can have a flamethrower out of the bullpen with a funky stance and windup and pitch delivery. I think that's a part of the reason why some of these relievers in baseball are so good is because not only are they really good and have high velocity pitches, but they have a funky delivery. They have a quick delivery. They have something weird about them that's completely unique to how they're doing it. And I think with the pitch clock, Lawrence is going to have to speed things up a little bit and get in a little, and I'm hoping that helps the pitchers develop a little bit more of the rhythm. I mean, I was listening at, again, I was mentioning yesterday, but Tim Kirchin's already mentioning how pitchers are trying to basically weaponize the pitch clock and things of that nature. I think that's going to be something that Justin Lawrence can do. But the big question mark with Lawrence is he's got to hit his spots. I love everything about Justin Lawrence until he's walking guys, till the guy can't find the strike zone. But he's someone that I think the Rockies can continue to see improvement from, and someone that is going to be a benefit to the Rockies because he's not going to be kind of leaned on, I think, as much as trying to be one of the guys. The Rockies all last season were hoping that one of the guys from this bullpen was going to break out and be the guy. And, Kinley and Gilbreth were there, but unfortunately the elbow injuries with both of them ruined that. And I think eventually Carlos Estevez stepped into that role of being the guy. But the Rockies don't have that. And now it's not immediately for Justin Lawrence to say, hey, you're our big-time reliever. They have a couple of extra veteran arms they can use in addition to Justin Lawrence, which I think is great. I think it's exactly what Lawrence can need. I think he's kind of going to be someone that can kind of grow into the role a little bit more and will be benefited from someone that I think is going to have a little bit more success from the pen in front of him. Mind you, Lawrence had to come in, and everyone in the Rockies bullpen usually had to come into a somewhat tough situation. Either they created it themselves, or the starter gave up a bunch early, or this, that, and the other thing. So I think with these veteran arms, if they can actually pitch up to what they're possibly capable of, are going to be a good way to set Lawrence up to come in later in games. And Justin Lawrence last year, 5.7 ERA in 42.2 innings, striking out 48 in that time, a whip of 1.5. So again, nothing great. It's not stellar. 48 strikeouts to 22 walks. He gave up 5 home runs last year. Actually, no, that's the projections. Sorry, that's what they're projecting this year. Let me rewind that here. He struck out 48, walked 22, and gave up 3 home. Is that the same thing? Okay, no, that's pretty close though. They're basically projecting Lawrence to have a pretty similar year with just a slightly lower things across the board, which is again, you'd hope for more from someone, but if he's just all right, if he's just pretty good, that's all right, because I don't think Justin Lawrence is going to be the key piece out of the bullpen. I think the bigger deal, the bigger focus, and the more important thing from the Rockies is to get production from these veterans, to get production from Suter, Hand, and Lamet. And as Leandro points out in the live chat, Brad Hand was definitely the weaker link in the Phillies rotation last season. And Hand, he pitched on that team, he on that World Series team. But he also, he has a nice some nice numbers. I mean, much nicer. Let's just compare Hand to Lawrence in certain ways. 3-2, 2.80 ERA in 55 games, 45 innings pitched there for Hand, striking out 38 and a whip of 1.33. I guess I shouldn't say very good, but better than Lawrence, for example. And it's going to be Hand. It's going to be interesting to see how he handles Coors Field. But I'm more confident. And I'll elaborate on that confidence in a little more detail here in just a second in segment number 2. But I got to tell you about our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook, your home for everything you need for sports betting action. You want to get in on Major League Baseball future bets? Well, then you can do that. You want to take advantage on all the basketball action? I mean, is there a better month for betting on basketball than March? I don't think so. And all the hockey action going on as well. I mean, you can see it all at the FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's where you want to go so you can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe and secure, super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from money line to point scores, threes drained, MVP odds, or some, who do you want to bet on for the Rockies? Go check it out at FanDuel.com/lockedon. You can even combine your bets for a bigger payout with the same game parlay. Don't miss out on your chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Want to thank you for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your streaming service of choice. You can also find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where Lux Ace at Rocks Hot Takes, Eric Harper, and Leandro are watching live and chatting live, just like you can. The March to 500 YouTube subscribers is on. Help us get there before opening day, and you will make me a very happy guy. You can go check out the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast for your second listen of the day if you want tips on how to set your lineup, or if you want to stay up to date with all things Colorado sports. Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, Buffs all have a Locked On podcast available for you on the Locked On Podcast Network. Rockies bullpen is what we're talking about today. The Arm Barn, I do like the Arm Barn side name, potential new name. I don't ever know what happened with that, but Arm Barn is a funny one. And I'd say it's a little bit, the bullpen is going to be controversial, because there's always going to be people that want more, go out, get pitching, go out, get pitching, go out and get pitching. But you really can't sit here and knock the Rockies' approach to reshaping this bullpen. The Rockies, instead of continuing to just turn to what they have, went out and added some more arms, and were able to snag, I think, one of the steals there in Dinelson Lamet. I think Brent Suter is going to be an interesting option as well, and Brad Hand has had success. The dude's a 3-time All-Star. Every single one of these veteran pitchers the Rockies have added since the end of last season gives the Rockies a better bullpen. Folks, the Rockies bullpen last year, this is from Patrick Saunders here at the end of the year. This was on October 3rd, so I'm pretty sure the last day of the season at this point. The Rockies bullpen ranked 4.87, the highest ERA in baseball, a whip of 1.40, the 5th highest in baseball, an average of 251, the 6th highest in baseball there, Ks per 9 at 8.45, the 8th fewest, and walks per 9 at 3.93, the 5th highest. And the only stat the Rockies bullpen found themselves outside of the top 10, and you didn't want to be in the top 10 of any of those categories, was home runs, and they were 12th at 60. So the Rockies not necessarily giving up a lot of damage by the long ball, but you can't be in the top 5 in 4 of the, 6 categories, the main categories for people for bullpen assessment, and consider yourself in a good spot. So now instead, the Rockies go out and, again, what risk? The Rockies have not, the Rockies have not mortgaged any future. The Rockies are not blocking anybody. This is a team in the farm system where there's not necessarily a lot of arms that get you overly excited. But when you see veteran bullpen arms come onto your team that have had success, you can at least sit here and say, it could work out. It's not an easy place to pitch, obviously. But we're not going to lean too much into just that. But I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not excited by the Rockies going out and getting on a simple deal in the face of losing a guy they're really excited about, a guy that just pitched in the World Series and is a 3-time All-Star. It might not be perfect, but it's an option. It's an affordable option. It's a low-risk option. Same with claiming Suter. Same with claiming Lamet, and bringing them onto the team. Those are all solid moves. Here's a little bit more about Brent Suter here from Purple Row. This piece from our friend Skylar Timmons was on the show. This is from last week. So if you want to read more about the lefty options the Rockies have added to their bullpen, you can go and check out more because Skylar lists some more. So this is from Invasion of the Southpaws. Let's talk about Brent Suter here. The most notable addition was Brent Suter. The former Milwaukee Brewer was claimed off waivers prior to the non-tender deadline and slots into a critical back end of the bullpen role. He's had a successful career as a pitcher, with 2022 being his first season purely as a reliever. He has a career 3.51 ERA and 394 and 2/3 innings of work, and while he doesn't have huge strikeout numbers with high velocities, he makes up for it with craftiness and a unique approach. Suter has been working to refine his slider with a new grip, which he believes will be instrumental in bouncing back in 2023 with the Rockies. Suter is being counted on helping the Rockies not only against lefties, but in critical moments in any game. Bam! 3.51 ERA, 300 innings. Come on. Unique delivery, craftiness. This is all good stuff to have from your bullpen. Absolutely. It might not pay out. It might not be, he might not be as good as we might think. But I am not asking the Rockies bullpen to go from worst to first. I'm asking the Rockies bullpen to go from worst to 15th. Worst to middle of the pack. Because a middle of the pack bullpen means the Rockies are winning close games. It means the Rockies are not losing late. It means the Rockies bullpen isn't blowing games wide open when they were close. If the Rockies improve and get out of the basement and even get to average levels, that is a massive upgrade for a team that was the worst bullpen in baseball last year. A massive upgrade. I would say jumping from last place to middle of the pack would be a massive upgrade. People keep thinking the Rockies are bad. And yes, there's not a lot of reason to think the Rockies are going to be necessarily good to great or excellent. But a lot of people are negating the fact that these moves helped shore up a terrible bullpen. And in the face, and when the Rockies usually have a situation in which they lose a pretty good player that was on their team, because mind you, Carlos Estevez was not going to be an easy spot to fill. But now you slot in Brent Suter. Now you slot in Brad Hand. Two pitchers that have seen success in their careers. That's good. Loki, you've added veteran depth to your bullpen that didn't have any last year, and you've done it in the face of adversity with some of the injuries and things that you've dealt with this year. This bullpen will blow games. This bullpen will not be perfect. This bullpen will give up runs. But there is no way, there is nothing about this bullpen that makes me think it will be worse than the worst bullpen in the league last year. Especially when the Rockies are paying attention and when you can do things like claiming these guys off waivers. That is smart. How can you get people to come here? And you don't even really need to do the negotiating phase. Just, hey, claimed. We got you. I know that's not always exactly how it works, but part of it. So, Again, you don't go out there and don't take what I'm saying as a guarantee that this Rockies team is going to be have a dominant bullpen. But I think the moves the Rockies have made and some of the players that they have, Justin Lawrence and Daniel Bard for example, make this a better bullpen. And we should see improvement. But we've also already seen members of this Rockies bullpen be part of 4 blown leads in spring training. That stuff does matter. I didn't want to completely negate that stuff. But when you look at the team and you just compare it to last year, and that's what we're doing today, much better spot. Much better position for the Rockies arm barn than last year. I'm just going to keep saying arm barn. We'll keep it that way. We'll make it a Locked On Rockies thing. Interesting questions in the live chat. Let's have some fun with that. And we also unfortunately have another injury to discuss for the Colorado Rockies. Let's get to that coming up here in segment number 3. I want to thank you for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming service and streaming live on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can ask questions just like at Rocks Hot Takes did. And he said, going back to the what jersey should I buy this year? I think Bard would be a great jersey to rock this year. I'm not going to go for a Bard. I like where your head's at. I hope people do buy a Bard jersey. But for me, if I do lean on a jersey, I think Kyle Freeland is leading the push. Colorado guy, I like everything that Kyle Freeland really is all about. I kind of really think that Kyle Freeland has been sure you can want more, but I like Kyle Freeland, the athlete and the guy. So that might be my vote right now. Rockies lost to Mexico. That's fine. Spring training. Folks, I know these games, but it's just as much as I want to sit here and be like, yes, Rockies offense. It's sometimes it's also like spring training. Grain of salt. FNL Aviator says, by the way, if the Rocks do ever play in a Field of Dream game, who would they play? What retired players show up for the opening ceremony? And what jersey would they wear? Just fun thoughts. I would say I saw Dodgers. I mean, that definitely would probably be more appealing to the wide crowd, but I would say it's more likely the Padres or the Diamondbacks. The Rockies, I would say what you would do with the League Field of Dreams game would probably be a recreation of Game 163. And you bring back probably a great deal of number of those players there. You bring back the Blake Street Bombers. Of course, Larry Walker and Todd Helton will headline it. So, yeah, you bring back the Rocktober team. You bring back the Bombers. And then you bring back also too the other playoff teams. You bring back Cargo. You make sure Charlie Blackmon maybe at that point, wherever they're at, wherever they might be at they're in their careers. You bring back the back-to-back playoff years squads as well. You see all the managers, I'm sure, as well. That would be my take. Jerseys. They would embrace the purple, I hope. They would probably very much embrace the purple, or they'd have a lot of fun, and they would do the turn down the clock or turn back the clock jerseys, which would be super, super cool. FNL Aviator also says, remember when we had Fuentes and Corpus in 07 and Street in 09? Whew, all good options out of the pen. For sure. One injury that we got to talk about here, unfortunate, man, another young guy. I mean, Sean Bouchard, ruptured bicep, I think, or some, messed up his arms, and surgery threatening most of the season. It's not, I don't think they ruled him out for the season, but such a bummer. For a guy that just had a ton of promise and really was impressing people. And I think was going to be someone that was going to get a lot of playing time in the absence of Randall Grichuk. But the Rockies do lose Sean Bouchard there, giving up or getting out there, and which is unfortunate because that is just it's a bummer. I was really looking forward to Bouchard. It might clear the way for some other people. This isn't, I wouldn't say now that Bouchard's out, it's not like, oh, Zach Veen time right away. Like, I don't think that's where the Rockies are at, but unfortunate that they are losing another one of their depth options and someone that had the potential and a lot of upside for a great 2023. So Rat King says he's lost all hope for 500 ball. I mean, the injury bug's been bad. It's been tough. And the Rockies have been dealt a tough hand so far. And again, if they want to play that 500 ball, they are going to have to overcome adversity, and they are being shown it immediately here off the rip. How can this team bounce back? Is this team capable of avoiding the bad stretches? And will the bullpen be a part of that? We'll wait and see. Real baseball on the way. Spring training continues, and we'll be bringing you your daily Rockies talk Monday through Friday throughout it all, because that's going to do for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you all so much for tuning in and joining the show. We have had a wonderful live chat today, and I want you to be part of it. So be sure to go subscribe to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel so you can be part of the show, just like Rat King, just like Leandro, just like FNLA Aviator, Eric Harper, Leandro, Lux Ace. I think I gave Leandro 2 shouts out, but that's fine. At Rock's Hot Takes as well. Thank you for tuning in live and being part of the live shows. You can join us Monday through Friday, free and on your favorite streaming service. Go make Locked On Fantasy Baseball your second listen of the day, or the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets podcast, or even the Locked On Buffs podcast. So many great podcasts available for you on the Locked On Podcast Network. Until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.